Hi guys, Tom here. Hey, thanks for stopping by and taking a look. We're going to be discussing igniters, and here on the screen I've got a variety of igniters. This is just a small portion of all the igniters that are out there for the different makes and models, but they all do the same thing. So we're going to kind of go through troubleshooting these things. And here on this next screen we've got a bad igniter, and you can see that little burn spot on there. And you can verify a bad igniter with your multimeter set to the ohms setting and checking for resistance. And on this video here, right here that we're looking at, we're just going to go ahead and show you where this igniter happens to be. And some of them are kind of hidden back, a little kind of tough to get to, but you can see there towards the back where that one is. And again, they're placed in different areas on different furnaces. You'll just have to figure out, where yours is at. And that's the plug right there for the igniter. And we're going to go ahead and do some troubleshooting on that igniter. So the first thing we're going to do is go ahead and set your multimeter to the resistance reading, and we're going to take an ohms reading. Usually you'll get about 45 to 85 ohms on an igniter. This one I've got 49, might be a little hard to see, but as long as you're getting that resistance reading of 45 to 85, your igniter is good. And the next step is to go ahead and check for voltage, and make sure you got voltage going to the igniter. And there is a couple of things that have to happen in order for that power to be sent to the igniter. So we're going to go ahead and close the door switch, and so the furnace starts, and the inducer motor is the first thing that's got to come on. And when that comes on, that closes the pressure switch, which sends the power down to the circuit board to start the igniter and power up the igniter, which will cause it to glow red. And then after a little bit, then your main gas valve opens and ignites the burners. So this is the igniter back there glowing red. And again, everything is working fine in this furnace, but we want to kind of tell you what it should be like, and what you should be getting as far as readings and voltages and things like that. So the first thing you can do is check for resistance, see if your igniter is open. And if it's fine, then you need to verify for power for 24 volts going to the igniter. But again, that inducer has to come on, the pressure switch has to close in order for that igniter to come on. And we're going to go ahead and check for power here. So my inducer came on, closes the pressure switch, and we unplug the igniter, and we're going to test the plug that goes down to the circuit board, which sends up the power to the igniter. And we're going to have we should have 120 volts. It won't be exact, it'll be about 123, 125, and that's what we got here, 123 volts. Now if you don't have that 123 volts, then you could have a bad faulty control board as long as your inducer and pressure switch are closing. And I got videos on the inducer troubleshooting, pressure switch troubleshooting, so you want to kind of take a look at those if you think that the igniter is good but not getting power sent to it. And then if you trace the wires, you can trace it down to the control board, the circuit board, where the voltage comes from, and you can check power there as well. It's the same thing as checking power up the plug, but you can check it there too if you wanted to. And again, you got to ensure the inducer comes on, pressure switch closes. And we do have power. I know that meter is a little hard to see with that glare, but we do have the 123 volts. But again, if our inducer's on, our pressure switch is closed, and if it's not sending 24 volts from that control board, then it could very well be that control board is bad, not sending the voltage up. So those are kind of the steps that you want to take, and we're going to go over some other things here. One of the things I'm going to show you here is how to take this one off, and they all mount differently, so you just kind of have to figure out how it gets taken out and gets put back in. And this red handle nut driver I have kind of makes it easy. It's a really long handled nut driver, and it really makes it easy to get back into those far back to reach tight spaces. So if you don't have those, yeah, you might be able to go and pick some of those up. It just makes things a lot easier. And the most common sizes are 1/4 inch, which what that red handle is, and then you got a 5/16, which is your yellow handle. And right there you can see the igniter. And if you have a bad one, just go ahead and put it right back in the way you took it out in reverse. Now this furnace is a different model furnace, and this has a smart valve, which is a gas valve that has a little computer in it. But what I'm doing right now is checking for voltage. As you can see, I got 23 volts, which is what this igniter takes. And again, it's mounted and plugged into the gas valve, which is referred to as a smart valve in the industry. So I know I have my 23 volts. I'm going to go ahead and check the resistance reading of this igniter. And this particular igniter has an igniter and a flame sensor combined. And what that is for the furnaces that have a pilot light. And I'm having a little bit of trouble getting those pins to stay in there, but once I get them in there, you'll see that we don't have any resistance. It's reading OL, which means open. So right there, I know that igniter is open because we do have power. I'm not getting any resistance readings, so therefore it's bad. And I'm just going to quickly show you how this one kind of comes out. And again, this is the pilot tubing. Be careful with it. It is flexible. You can manipulate it, but just don't kink it. So you got to be real careful with that. So you'll pull that, maneuver that from underneath by taking the screws out of the mount. And there's a little clip that will hold that wire in place. I'm going to go and take that off of there, and so I can pull those leads out of there for the plug. And then we'll go ahead and show you how to replace that igniter here in a second. And there we go, taking that out of the hole there. And you just take a little screwdriver to remove that clip, and just kind of pop it in there and pop off that clip right there. And then your igniter and flame sensor combo will drop right out of there. So you can see that metal rod, that's the flame sensor. The other smaller part is the igniter, which is burnt. And that flame sensor is there so that when the igniter lights the pilot flame will touch that flame sensor and tell the main burner to go ahead and open up and light the main burner. So what I did there, I just blew it out. While you got it out, you want to make sure that pilot assembly is nice and clean, because if you have a dirty pilot assembly, it may light, but the flame will be too low to touch the flame sensor, and you won't, that gas valve won't open. So just make sure while you're replacing it to clean out and blow out that pilot assembly. And then again, you just put it right back in reverse, being careful with that tubing. And I'm going to kind of edit this a little bit. There we go, so that we can go and just get to remounting it. And then we'll plug it in and we'll get it tested out. But again, they all mount different, so you're going to have to just kind of figure that out. And it's not too hard. And I kind of misplaced the screw there, so don't do that. And then once we get it mounted, we're going to go ahead and put that lead back through the hole, put that clip back on the wires, hold those wires in place. And I'm going to probably edit that out so where we can make it not so long. And then what I do is take the remaining wire and I just kind of wrap it around the pilot tubing just like that, just to kind of keep it out of the way. And then I go ahead and plug it back in, and we'll go ahead and test it now that we got a new igniter in there by applying power, to shutting the door switch. The inducer comes on, pressure switch closes, and there you go. The igniter is coming on, which lights the pilot. Pilot hits the flame sensor, and the main burner opens. So that's what we got. That's about it, guys. Hey, thanks for stopping by. Any questions, leave them, and I'll try to get them answered for you. Thanks a lot.